Hi, welcome back. It's Laura here at Hyperstamper. So if you just watched my antique book haul that I did today, I rushed home and this was the first one I wanted to make. This is a 1925 edition of Alice in Wonderland. It is such a pretty old book. Now there was some damage to the spine, so I did have to, it's still there, the original spine. I just had to cover up the rips and tears. So I used this vintage fabric, which actually matches the cover beautifully, as do these vintage beads and this vintage scarf piece here. And some vintage crochet. So it looks really pretty. We've got Alice here with the rabbit going down into the hole. And I'm in love with this book. I just love it so much. So let me take you on a little journey through Alice in Wonderland, the 100-year-old version, and then I'll pop it into my Etsy shop, hyperstamper.etsy.com. But let me tell you a little bit of history about all of the dozens and dozens and dozens of authentic antique and vintage ephemera inside here. So this is the very first page of the book, and here is the first plate of the book. That is the original plate. And that is Alice, and we've got the mushroom guy up there with his hookah and butterflies and daisies. It's absolutely stunning. I love it. And this is another vintage book piece here, the Daily Mail Annual. And that is quite old as well. It's a 1930s piece here. And this here, I didn't show this in my video, and I meant to, but let me show you real quick now. So this was a dilapidated scrapbook here, as you can see. And somebody back in the 1940s put together this scrapbook of all their greeting cards. And these are fabulous. I mean, I was shaking when I got this. I was so excited. So it's just full of these wonderful greeting cards. I've got lots of wonderful cards to put in my Christmas and Easter journals. But this one here I thought was really precious. Happy birthday, 7-year-old. And put the little puppy there who ran through the kite. And then this sweet little message here. And you can journal up here. And it is from a page. Is that great? I love it. So that goes in there, and that is mounted on a over 100-year-old postcard album page. And here's another vintage page here. And this is a 1920s book page here, which I think is so adorable. And I've added antique paper to the front and back so that you can journal on there. This is from the early 1900s, the snow blanket. And I turned that into a pocket on the other side. This is a vintage bridge piece that you can play bridge by yourself. It comes with a little machine that you slip these into. Pockets from 1940. And then this here is beautiful Laura Wheeler. And it actually has her name on there. That's pattern 955. And that is a cross stitch pattern from the 40s. It's really, really special. I love it. I'll just tuck it back there for now. There's a crochet. Look at that cover of that beautiful vintage crochet book. 10 cents. Isn't it great? Look at that. Wonderful Christmas one. Oh, I just love it. It's fantastic. And just a little waterfall journaling piece here with antique paper. Another early 1900s piece. And then this just a really great vintage page here with a blank on the back for journaling. So that's a little pocket there. This is really cool. Look at that. Isn't that neat? That is from, I think, 1945. These beautiful stamps from Switzerland. And going to a watch company. So I think that's really cool. More of those vintage pages here and here. How fun is that? And then I made this triple pocket here. So there's pockets on the front and the back. So one here. And these are all for journaling. Look at how sweet is that from 1920. And then another one here. The little cityscape. And that's all mounted inside this 1950s American United States postage stamp page. This is from a vintage tree book. And here is a beautiful vintage postcard here from about the 60s. And it's got the cherry blossoms. And of course, that's Jefferson Memorial. Now this here is an original page from the book, the Tweedledee and Tweedledum page. And it's just got some great space there to journal on. So I included that as well. That's 1800s there. one of Stacy's Maple Grove receipts. Thank you, Stacy. And then this is a tag I made out of an old piano player roll box and some antique pieces on there as well. And that little pocket there on a vintage dictionary page. Look how precious this is. This is early 1900s. That's Mother Goose there, telling stories. And this is very sweet. This is a from the early 1900s as well, little foxes. And I also have a color plate of this exact piece that I am saving for a journal as well. This is a 1934 Paris, France almanac page, double-sided, so it's all in French and it's very cool. And you can always flip that into Google Translate and see what it says. This is a very, very cool piece here as well. Look at that. This is from 1925, exactly 100 years old. Look at this beautiful girl on here. Look at her makeup hasn't changed a bit. Isn't that funny? Oh, so really, really great piece. It's very brittle, but it's very interesting and historic as well. So I'm just gonna put that in there. Another tree piece here. Look at the acorns, they're so pretty. This is one of those pages that I find every now and again where people who couldn't afford maybe a scrapbook would use an old book, and they would put the pieces from newspapers and things that they wanted to keep in it. So that's what this is, and I love this piece about the flowers here. That's just a really cool history lesson on how you would make good use of books back in the day. There's a beautiful piece from a vintage children's book from the 40s. This is an 1850s Hogarth engraving plate. And this is, look at that, birthday fun. I love these little birthday pages in children's books. Vintage ledger page. This is a really cool crochet piece. It's not often you see crochet with words, so I love that pattern there. It's red doily. And then this one here is a cloverleaf doily, and I found this cloverleaf in a book today, so it was perfect timing. It started to crumble, but I was able to glue it down. I just thought that was really cool. And this is from a very old Birds of America book. And it's a very high quality book because it's on glossy, even though it's super, super old. And here's another original plate from this book, Alice in Wonderland. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love it. Another doily page. This here, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it is tracing paper from the 40s. And you can see the little wheel marks that put the little divots into the pattern so it would transfer onto the fabric. And then I've got a quad pocket here. I've got a vintage recipe card, a 1930s flinch card, Lucky 13, an 1890s watch guard dial, and a 1920s snap fasteners. That's a lot of stuff in there. Here's another original page from the book. Here, look at that sweet little, that's the original illustrator that worked with the author, Lewis Carroll. And there is a vintage children's book page there again, and another piece here, and a vintage Birds of America page here from the early 70s, so definitely vintage. I've got a really cool piece here from the 40s. Look how sweet that is. Isn't that sweet? I put some antique paper on the back. Another children's book page here and here, vintage. Oh, from Oberon in Fairyland. I should have kept that for my fairy journal. I didn't notice that before. And here is just, I didn't do anything with it because I really like the poem on the back and I love the illustration of giraffes on the front, so I didn't put any antique paper on that, but you can. Just a really cool antique page here, and just a really fun children's book page there. Story time vintage card that you can upcycle and do fun things with, and then another children's book page, and the last page of the book. Look at these great illustrations. I hope you love it as much as I loved making it. It was very special. Hyperstamper.etsy.com, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you soon.